Imagine sitting in a concert hall waiting for music that was never finished. A symphony lost to time, a melody only imagined. These lost works haunt us, not just as missing art, but as missing pieces of the human story. Ghosts whispering from the silence. But what if technology could finally unlock these silent rooms and let the music play once more? Music history is filled with masterpieces lost to fire war, or the untimely death of their creators. Sometimes all that remains is a sketch, a fragment, a single unfinished thought, a haunting reminder of what could have been. These fragments are puzzles tempting us to imagine the music that never was. Our archives are full of these quiet tragedies, entire soundscapes wiped from memory, leaving us with an incomplete past. For years, we could only guess at these lost works, our attempts to finish them always falling short. Now, artificial intelligence offers a new way to listen. Analyzing a composer's style, learning their musical DNA, and continuing their thoughts with uncanny accuracy. This is digital archaeology, using algorithms to resurrect lost sounds and let the ghosts of music's past sing again. For the first time, we can ask, what if? And actually, hear an answer. Today we turn to one of music's greatest mysteries, Franz Schubert's unfinished symphony. 2 movements of haunting beauty, then silence. A masterpiece defined by what's missing. Why did Schubert stop? Was it doubt, illness, or did he feel the work was already complete? For generations we've wondered what the final chapters of this story might sound like. Schubert's 8th Symphony is a world of light and shadow, 2 perfect movements, then nothing. He left behind a sketch for a 3rd movement, a tantalizing clue, but never finished the symphony. Many have tried to complete it, but the true essence of Schubert's genius always seemed just out of reach. Now, with new technology, we may finally be able to solve the mystery and let the unfinished symphony sing with Schubert's own voice. For almost 200 years, the conversation around Schubert's 8th Symphony has been limited by the tools available to us. The only way to approach the problem was through the lens of human intuition and scholarship. A musicologist would study the sketches, immerse themselves in Schubert's style, and then make an educated guess, composing in a way they believe Schubert might have. While these efforts were born of deep respect and admiration for the composer, they were ultimately filtered through the creative personality of another artist. No matter how hard they tried to suppress their own voice, their own musical instincts would inevitably color the final result. The completion was always an interpretation, not a continuation. But today, we have a new collaborator. For the first time in history, we have a partner that is capable of getting closer to the mind of Franz Schubert than any human imitator ever could. This collaborator is artificial intelligence. By using sophisticated deep learning models, we can move beyond simple imitation and engage in a form of stylistic analysis that is impossibly complex for the human brain alone. We are no longer just asking, what would a great composer write? We are asking a more precise question. Based on all the musical decisions Franz Schubert ever made, what would he most likely have written next? This shift in approach changes everything. Our AI toolkit allows us to build what we call a Schubert model. It is not a generic classical music machine, it's a highly specialized neural network trained exclusively on Schubert's entire musical output. It has listened to and analyzed every symphony, every song, every piano sonata, and every chamber piece he ever wrote. It has learned his unique harmonic language, his melodic contours, his rhythmic preferences, and his specific instrumental voicings. It understands his tendency to shift suddenly between moods, his love for certain key relationships, and the very fabric of his musical DNA. It has, in a sense, learned to think in the language of Schubert, without the inherent bias of a human composer. This AI collaborator does not replace the human expert, it empowers them. It becomes a powerful new instrument in the musicologist's orchestra. Instead of relying solely on scholarship and gut feeling, we can now test our hypotheses against a data-driven model that understands Schubert's style with unprecedented depth. We are going to use this powerful new partnership to finally confront the 2-part mystery of the unfinished. We will feed the AI the fragments Schubert left behind and ask it to help us hear the symphony as it might have been. We are attempting to build a bridge across 2 centuries, to create a dialogue between a human team in the present and the ghost of a genius from the past. So, how do you actually teach a machine to think like a creative genius? It is a process that begins not with code, but with a philosophy of total immersion. You cannot simply give an AI a set of rules for 19th century music and expect it to produce something that feels authentic. That would be like trying to teach someone to paint like Van Gogh by only describing the color yellow. To capture the essence of an artist, the machine must be steeped in their entire world, their every creative impulse. We took a powerful deep learning model. You can think of it as a musical brain in its infancy, full of potential but with no experience, and we began its education. It was an education devoted to a single subject, Franz Schubert. The first step was to gather the data. We fed the AI system Schubert's entire life's work. This was a monumental task involving the digitization and formatting of hundreds of scores. Every symphony, every chamber piece, every piano sonata, and every one of his beautiful, heartbreaking songs was translated into a language the machine could understand. The AI processed not just the notes on the page, but the relationships between them. It analyzed the structure of his phrases, the flow of his harmonies, and the intricate counterpoint that gives his music such richness. It was like forcing a student to listen to nothing but Schubert, day and night, until his musical language became its own native tongue. This is a crucial distinction from previous approaches. The AI is not learning classical music in a general sense, it is learning the specific musical fingerprint of one person. It is being trained to recognize the unique patterns and habits that make Schubert sound like Schubert, and no one else. For instance, it learns his signature melodic leaps, those moments where the tune unexpectedly jumps to a high note filled with longing. It learns his sudden, dramatic shifts from a sunny major key to a sorrowful minor key, a technique he used to convey complex, shifting emotions. This process is far deeper than just memorizing melodies, it is about understanding the underlying logic of his creativity. Ultimately, the goal of this digital immersion is to build a predictive model of the composer's style. After analyzing this vast data set, the AI begins to understand the probability of what note, chord, or instrument would come next in any given musical context. It learns what choices Schubert was likely to make when faced with a creative decision. It is not a conscious intelligence in the human sense, of course. It does not feel the music, but it develops an incredibly sophisticated statistical understanding of Schubert's artistic identity. It learns to recognize his voice so perfectly that it can begin to anticipate his every musical word, creating the foundation for what comes next. Once the machine has absorbed the entirety of Schubert's work, it begins a process of deconstruction. This is where, honestly, the true power of deep learning comes into play. The AI system sifts through the data, identifying thousands of musical parameters that define Schubert's style. It's kind of like taking a finely woven tapestry and carefully pulling apart every single thread to understand how it contributes to the overall picture. The system looks at his harmonic progressions, noting which chords he tends to favor and in what sequence. It analyzes his rhythmic patterns, identifying the subtle syncopations and stresses that give his music its characteristic pulse. It's a forensic examination of his musical anatomy, conducted on a massive scale. This analysis goes far beyond what any single human musicologist could ever hope to achieve in a lifetime. The AI can identify connections and patterns that are invisible to the naked ear. For example, it might discover a subtle relationship between a particular melodic shape in one of his early songs and the way he voices the woodwind instruments in a late symphony. It finds the hidden threads that connect his entire body of work, the recurring motifs and ideas that make up his subconscious musical language. In a way, the AI is deconstructing his musical soul, breaking it down into its core components to understand how it was built. Among the most important elements the AI learns is Schubert's unique approach to orchestration. It's not just about what notes he wrote, but which instruments he assigned to play them. The AI learns how he used the warm, gentle sound of the French horns to create a sense of nostalgia, or how he would give a haunting melody to a solo clarinet. It analyzes how he balanced the power of the brass section against the delicacy of the strings, creating his signature soundscape. This understanding of his instrumental palette is absolutely essential. To complete the unfinished symphony, the AI must not only compose like Schubert, but also orchestrate like him. Through this meticulous process, the AI builds its internal model of Schubert's mind. It is not a collection of rigid rules, but a flexible network of probabilities and connections. It understands that a certain melodic idea is likely to be followed by a specific harmonic shift, which in turn is likely to be played by a particular combination of instruments. It has learned the very essence of his style, the intricate web of choices that, when taken together, produce the unmistakable sound of his genius. The machine is now ready. It has learned what makes Schubert sound like Schubert, and it is prepared to put that knowledge to the creative test. With the AI now holding a comprehensive Schubert brain in its digital memory, we reach the most exciting moment of the project. It was time to give it the prompt. This is the point where we transition from analysis to creation. We provided the AI model with the original, incomplete fragments of the symphony's third movement. We fed it those 20 or so fully orchestrated bars of the scherzo that Schubert had completed, followed by the entire piano sketch he had written for the rest of the movement. We presented the AI with the exact same musical puzzle that has stumped composers and scholars for nearly 2 centuries. The core challenge was simple and direct: continue this musical thought. But the AI does not respond by simply writing the rest of the symphony in one go. That is not how this creative partnership works. Instead of providing a single, definitive answer, the AI offers a spectrum of possibilities. It generates multiple different paths that Schubert could have plausibly taken, each one statistically and stylistically consistent with everything it has learned about his musical language. It's kind of like standing at a crossroads in a forest, and the AI illuminates several different trails that all lead deeper into the woods. Each path is a valid Schubert-like continuation, but they might differ in mood, complexity, or emotional direction. This is where the human element becomes absolutely crucial. The AI is a brilliant generator of ideas, but it lacks taste, emotional judgment, and a sense of narrative cohesion. It can produce passages that are technically perfect in the style of Schubert, but may not serve the larger dramatic arc of the symphony. This is where our team of musicologists takes over. The process becomes a dialogue. The AI proposes and the human experts curate. We listen to every one of the generated possibilities, debating their merits. Does this passage feel emotionally resonant? Does this melodic development feel authentic to the spirit of the first 2 movements? We carefully sifted through the AI's suggestions, selecting the passages that felt the most inspired, the most authentic, and the most emotionally compelling. In some cases, we might even combine ideas from different AI-generated paths, taking a beautiful melodic idea from one and pairing it with a powerful harmonic progression from another. It is a collaborative process of refinement and selection. The goal is not to passively accept the machine's first answer, but to work with it as a creative partner. The AI provides the raw material, the stylistically perfect building blocks, and the human team acts as the architect, shaping those blocks into a meaningful and beautiful structure. The process of completing the third movement was a true conversation. The AI would generate a 10-bar phrase and our team would analyze it. We might feel that a certain transition was too abrupt, or that a particular instrumental line was not prominent enough. We would then adjust the parameters and ask the AI to generate new options based on our feedback. For example, we could instruct it to explore a more lyrical development of this theme, or create a transition that builds more tension here. The AI would then respond with a new set of possibilities that incorporated our artistic direction, allowing for a back and forth that felt remarkably like working with a human collaborator. This iterative process was key to solving the second half of the puzzle, the missing 4th and final movement. Here, we combined the power of the AI with established musicological theory. For decades, many scholars have believed that Schubert repurposed the music he originally intended for the symphony's finale and used it elsewhere. The leading candidate is the dramatic music he wrote for a play called. The themes in this theatrical music share a key signature and a similar emotional character with the unfinished symphony, leading many to believe they were its intended conclusion, just dressed in different clothes. Here, we gave the AI a different, more specific task. It was not asked to be a composer from scratch, but rather a master orchestrator and arranger. We tasked the AI with analyzing the core melodic and harmonic themes from the music. Its job was to reimagine and reorchestrate them, transforming them from music for a theatrical production into a grand, powerful symphonic finale. It had to adapt the material to match the larger, more profound instrumental scale of the symphony's first 2 movements. The AI became a brilliant, tireless assistant, helping us explore how that music could be returned to what we believe was its original intended home. The AI proposed countless ways to revoice the themes, suggesting how to distribute the melodies between the strings, woodwinds, and brass to give them a more epic, symphonic weight. It helped us add the kind of powerful brass fanfares and thundering timpani rolls that are characteristic of Schubert's symphonic writing but were absent from the lighter theatrical score. This combination of established historical theory and advanced technological capability allowed us to construct a finale that is not a guess, but an educated and stylistically authentic adaptation. It was the final step in teaching the machine to imagine, allowing it to help us complete the architectural structure of this long unfinished masterpiece. We now have it. After a long process of analysis, collaboration, and creation, the result sits on a computer screen. It is a complete four-movement score for Schubert's Eighth Symphony. The notes are all there, the instrumentation is specified, and the structure is finished. But music is not just data points on a digital page, it is a living, breathing experience. It is meant to be heard, to fill a room with sound and emotion. The most profound challenge still remains. How do you bridge that vast gap between the silent score and the vibrant performance? How do you transform this information back into the powerful, moving art form it was always meant to be? The ultimate test for any musical score, new or old, is to give it to a living human orchestra. The subtle interpretations of a conductor and the collective energy of dozens of musicians are what truly bring music to life. That is our final goal. But as a vital intermediate step, we can create what we call a digital premiere. This is a crucial part of our modern toolkit. Using libraries of incredibly high-fidelity virtual instruments, we can generate a stunningly realistic digital performance of the completed work. These are not the synthetic, robotic sounds of old computer music. These are meticulously recorded samples of real instruments played by master musicians, capable of capturing every nuance of a performance. This technology, from companies like Spitfire Audio and Vienna Symphonic Library, has revolutionized composition. For our project, it means we do not have to wait months to assemble an orchestra to hear the results of our work. We can hear it almost instantly. The moment the AI-assisted score is complete, we can assign each part to its corresponding virtual instrument. The violin lines are played by a sampled violin section, the horn calls are rendered by a virtual horn, and the timpani rolls thunder with digital but authentic power. This allows us to hear a full, richly textured performance of the symphony with the click of a button. This digital premiere is an invaluable tool for refinement. It is our first chance to hear the complete symphony as a cohesive whole, to judge the balance and flow between the movements. We can listen critically, making small but important adjustments. Is the brass section overpowering the woodwinds in the new finale? We can adjust the volume. Does a transition in the scherzo feel too sudden? We can tweak the tempo and dynamics. This process allows our team of musicologists to perfect the orchestration and polish the final piece before it ever touches a conductor's stand, ensuring that the first human performance is as powerful and authentic as possible. Listening to this digital premiere for the first time is a truly uncanny experience. It is the moment the ghost in the machine begins to speak. Through the studio speakers, we hear the familiar haunting melodies of the first two movements. They sound crisp, powerful, and perfectly rendered. But then, something extraordinary happens. The music does not stop. For the first time, we hear the symphony continue into the third movement, the scherzo, that Schubert only started. The playful, energetic theme, once just a fragment, now develops and dances full of life. It is a sound that has been silent for 2 centuries, finally emerging from the void. The experience is both thrilling and deeply moving. We are hearing a musical idea come to fruition long after its creator has gone. The AI, guided by our team, has picked up the thread of Schubert's thought and woven it into a complete musical tapestry. We can hear his signature style in every bar. The way the melody is passed between the strings and the woodwinds, the sudden shifts in mood from playful to poignant, the rhythmic drive, it all feels undeniably like him. It is a strange and wonderful form of time travel, a dialogue with the past made audible. The ghost is no longer just a whisper in the archive, it is a voice in the room. Then comes the finale, the movement adapted from the Rosamund music. The AI's role as a master orchestrator becomes clear. The themes that were once part of a theatrical score are now transformed. They are grander, more powerful, and filled with a symphonic weight that connects them perfectly to the opening movements. The triumphant brass fanfares and soaring string lines provide the sense of resolution and finality that the symphony has always lacked. It feels like the music has finally come home, returned to its intended form. It is the missing capstone on a magnificent, previously incomplete structure, providing an emotionally satisfying conclusion to the journey. This digital performance is more than just a technical preview. It is an emotional proof of concept. It confirms that the combination of human scholarship and artificial intelligence can produce something that is not only stylistically accurate, but also artistically compelling. It demonstrates that we can respectfully engage with the work of a past master, not to replace their genius but to help it achieve its full potential. The ghost in the speakers is a testament to this new kind of collaboration, a sound that bridges the gap between historical fragments and a complete, powerful, and moving musical experience for a modern audience. Music is a powerful emotional language, but its structures can often be complex and difficult for the listener to follow. To help tell the story of this resurrected symphony, we can use technology not just to create the sound, but also to visualize it. We can bring in the same kind of generative AI that we use to build the historical worlds in our documentaries, and apply it to the music itself. This allows us to create visuals that make the intricate patterns of the music immediately understandable and beautiful to behold. We can, in essence, make the unseen architecture of the music visible to the eye. Imagine watching the performance while seeing the music animate on screen. We can represent the main theme of the scherzo as a glowing red thread of light. As the music develops, we can introduce the counter melodies as blue and yellow threads. You would see these threads weaving together in a beautiful, animated tapestry of sound, twisting and turning in time with the orchestra. When the different instrument sections pass a melody back and forth, you would see the thread of light jump from one side of the screen to the other. This visual language can help anyone, regardless of their musical training, appreciate the brilliant complexity of Schubert's compositional craft. Beyond these abstract visualizations, we can also use generative AI to recreate the past with astonishing realism. We can generate a photorealistic vision of a 19th century Viennese concert hall, perhaps the very hall where this symphony might have premiered. We can populate it with an AI-generated audience dressed in period clothing, their faces reflecting the emotion of the music. We can then place our virtual orchestra on that historic stage, allowing the viewer to experience the digital premiere not in a sterile studio, but in the rich, atmospheric setting of the time. This grounds the music in its historical context, making the experience more immersive and believable. We can even take this one step further and attempt to give a voice to the composer himself. Using AI models trained on the tone, language, and content of Franz Schubert's surviving letters and diaries, we could create a synthetic voice for him. This would not be a cheap imitation, but a carefully constructed vocal persona based on historical data. Imagine hearing Schubert's own words, in his own synthesized voice, narrating parts of his story. He could speak about his struggles, his hopes for the symphony, and his feelings about his music. This weaving of sound, sight, and historical narrative creates a multi-sensory experience that goes far beyond a simple concert. By weaving all of these technological threads together, we can achieve our ultimate goal. We are not just presenting a piece of music, we are creating a complete and deeply immersive experience. We begin with the analytical AI that studies the composer's soul and helps us complete the unfinished score. Then, we use the high-fidelity virtual orchestra to perform the music with stunning realism. Finally, we employ generative AI to build the visual world around the performance, from animated graphics that explain the music to a hyper-realistic recreation of the historical setting. The result is a new form of storytelling, a concert that never happened, now made real. This fusion of technologies allows us to give our audience a front-row seat to history. You are not just a passive listener hearing a recording, you are transported back in time, sitting in a Viennese concert hall, watching a ghost orchestra play a ghost symphony. You see the music flowing around you as a dance of colored lights. You see the composer himself, a translucent figure on the stage, watching his work finally be performed in its entirety. It is an experience designed to engage all the senses and to connect the audience to the music on a much deeper, more emotional level than a traditional documentary ever could. We are effectively turning a fragment of history, a collection of dusty manuscripts and scholarly theories, into a living event. The what-if of Schubert's unfinished symphony is no longer just a question for academics to debate. It becomes an experience that anyone can witness and be moved by. We are not just listening to a ghost, we are sitting in the concert hall with it, sharing in the moment of its triumph. This approach represents a new potential for historical documentaries, moving beyond reporting on the past to actively recreating and resurrecting its lost sensory worlds for a new generation. The final triumphant chord of the symphony rings out, a sound that has waited 200 years to be heard. As it echoes and fades, the AI-generated audience rises to its feet in a wave of thunderous applause. The entire scene is bathed in a warm, golden light, a moment of catharsis and completion. This is the power of the digital time machine. By combining the soul of musicology with the revolutionary power of artificial intelligence, we can finally break the silence of the past, transforming lost notes from data on a screen back into the magnificent orchestra they were always meant to be. This journey has been an incredible one. We have traveled back in time, collaborated with a ghost, and heard a symphony that has been silent for 2 centuries. The power of this technology to resurrect lost art is truly breathtaking. But as the final notes fade and the applause subsides, we arrive at the most important part of our story. We must confront the deep and complex ethical questions that this process raises. When an audience hears this completed symphony, how can they trust what they are hearing? It is a fundamental question of artistic truth. How do they know where Franz Schubert's genius ends and where the work of the ghost in the machine begins? This is not a question we can shy away from. In fact, we believe it must be answered head-on, with total honesty. When you are dealing with a beloved masterpiece, a piece of music that holds such a profound place in people's hearts, you have an immense responsibility. The danger is that this technology could be used to create fakes, to blur the line between historical fact and artificial creation, without the audience ever knowing. That is a path we refuse to take. For us, transparency is not just an optional feature or a footnote in our process, it is the foundational ethic of our entire project. We believe the audience has a right to know the full story behind the sounds they are hearing. The challenge is to balance innovation with integrity. We are excited by the potential of AI to unlock new creative possibilities and shed new light on history, but we are also deeply respectful of the original art and the artist who created it. Our goal is not to trick the listener into believing this is a long-lost manuscript discovered in a dusty attic. That would be a disservice to both Schubert's legacy and the incredible work of the AI. Instead, our goal is to present this as what it truly is, a collaboration between human scholarship, a historical genius, and a powerful new technological tool. It is an experiment born of respect, not an act of deception. Therefore, we made a commitment from the very beginning to build a framework of trust with you, our audience. Before we wrote a single note of new music or generated a single image, we developed what we call our transparency protocol. This is our solemn promise to you about how we will conduct this work, both now and in all our future explorations. It is a set of principles designed to ensure that you are always a fully informed partner on this journey. We want to be crystal clear about how this protocol applies to the completion of Schubert's symphony, because your trust is the most valuable thing we have. Our transparency protocol is built on a simple, 3-point promise. The first point is this: we will label everything. When you experience the final documentary and the full performance of the symphony, there will be absolutely no ambiguity about what you are hearing. Every single second of music will be clearly and elegantly marked on screen. We will use a simple color-coded system to show you exactly what is what. A golden light might signify, this is original, untouched Schubert from the first 2 movements. A blue hue will indicate, this is an AI-assisted completion of Schubert's original sketch. A green glow will mean, this is an AI-assisted adaptation of themes from the Rosamunde music. You will always know the precise origin of every note. The second point of our promise is, we will show our work. This entire process is not a magic trick, and we have no interest in pretending it is. We want to pull back the curtain and reveal the mechanics behind the magic. In the supplementary materials that will accompany this episode on our website, we will release a detailed white paper. This document will explain the specific AI models we used, the complete data set of Schubert's work that we trained them on, and the key curatorial choices our team of musicologists made along the way. You will be able to see the raw outputs the AI generated and understand the logic behind why we selected one passage over another. We are opening up our entire digital workbench for you to inspect. This commitment to openness is vital for building a new and responsible way of using AI in the arts. It demystifies the technology and empowers the audience to become critical listeners. By showing our work, we invite scrutiny, debate, and discussion. We believe this is healthy and necessary for the field to grow in an ethical way. It moves the conversation away from a simple, is it good or bad, and towards more nuanced questions like, was this a compelling choice, or how does this AI-generated passage compare to a previous human completion? It turns a passive listening experience into an active and engaging exploration of the creative process itself, both human and artificial. Ultimately, our protocol is designed to honor both the art and the audience. By clearly labeling everything and showing all of our work, we are treating you as an intelligent and curious explorer, not just a consumer of content. We are giving you the tools to understand this new frontier of artistic resurrection for yourself. We are not telling you what to think about this completed symphony, we are giving you all the information you need to form your own opinion. This radical transparency is, we believe, the only ethical way to approach a project of such historical and cultural significance. It is how we earn your trust to continue these journeys into the unseen corners of history. This brings us to the third and most critical point of our promise. The human is always in the loop. Let us be absolutely clear on this matter. The artificial intelligence did not write a symphony. It does not possess consciousness, intention, or artistic desire. It cannot feel the profound sadness in Schubert's melodies or the triumphant joy in his finales. The AI was, an incredibly powerful and inspiring creative partner, but it was always just one part of the process. It was a tool, albeit a revolutionary one, that served a team of human experts. It provided musically informed possibilities, but it never made a single decision on its own. Every crucial choice, the final artistic and ethical decisions, was made by people. Our team of musicologists and musicians spent hundreds of hours listening, debating, and curating the AI's output. They used their years of experience, their deep knowledge of music history, and their own human sensitivity to guide the project at every stage. They were the ones who decided what felt right, what was emotionally resonant, and what truly honored Schubert's legacy. The AI could generate a technically perfect Schubertian phrase, but only a human can feel whether that phrase has a soul. This human judgment was the final arbiter of quality and authenticity. This model of collaboration is fundamental to our philosophy. This is not a story about technology replacing genius. It is a story about building a new kind of tool that allows us to respectfully engage with that genius across the centuries. The AI is like an impossibly knowledgeable research assistant. It can analyze the data and generate ideas at a speed and scale that is beyond human capability. But the vision, the taste, and the heart of the project come from the human experts who guide its work. The human is not just in the loop, the human is the loop, directing the flow of creation and ensuring the final result is not just clever, but meaningful. This is the ethical core of our mission. We believe that AI can be a force for immense good in the arts and humanities, but only if it is wielded with care, respect, and a deep appreciation for the irreplaceable role of human creativity. Our work on Schubert's symphony is a demonstration of this partnership. It is a testament to what can be achieved when the analytical power of the machine is combined with the wisdom and passion of the human heart. Transparency is how we honor the art, and keeping the human in control is how we honor you, the audience, by ensuring the final creation is one of genuine artistic merit. So, that is our mission. We have journeyed into the heart of a musical mystery and emerged with a sound that has been silent for 200 years. We set out to finally complete the unfinished symphony. Our goal was not to create a fake or a forgery, but to respectfully collaborate with a ghost. We wanted to use the most advanced tools of our time to allow a masterpiece to be heard in its entirety, as it might have been. This project was a test case, a demonstration of a new way to interact with the past. It shows that technology, when guided by human expertise and a strong ethical framework, can become a powerful partner in the quest to understand our cultural history. This is just the beginning. The successful resurrection of Schubert's symphony is not an endpoint. It is the opening of a door to 1,000 new possibilities. The digital time machine we are building is not limited to a single composer or a single piece of music. The same techniques we use to analyze Schubert's musical DNA can be applied to countless other historical puzzles. We are standing at the dawn of a new age of discovery, where the lost sounds of the past are no longer irretrievable. The silence of history is beginning to look less like a permanent void, and more like an unexplored territory, waiting for us to draw the map. The potential is truly staggering. Think of the other great unfinished works of music. What about Mozart's Requiem, left incomplete at his death and finished by his student? Could we use AI to explore alternative completions based solely on Mozart's own style? What about the lost symphonies of Haydn or the burned manuscripts of other great composers? We can now begin to approach these legendary losses not with sad resignation but with a sense of exciting challenge. The toolkit we have developed gives us a new lens through which to view these historical artifacts, a new way to listen to their secrets and to imagine their completed forms. This adventure is about more than just music. It is about sound itself. The world of the past was filled with unique soundscapes that have vanished forever. Every era, every culture, every city had its own auditory fingerprint. The hum of a Victorian factory, the call of a specific street vendor in ancient Rome, the ambient noise of a forest before the introduction of modern machinery, these are all part of the human story. With our new tools, we can begin to think about reconstructing these lost sonic worlds. We are embarking on an expedition not just to see the past but to hear it in all its rich and varied detail. Imagine where this technology could take us next. Our team is already exploring the next frontiers of this work, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Consider the world of ancient history. Archaeologists have unearthed incredible musical instruments from thousands of years ago, but we have no idea what they truly sounded like. We might have a diagram of a Sumerian lyre or the physical remnants of an Egyptian flute, but the music they played is gone. What if we could use AI to analyze the instrument's physical properties, its size, shape, and materials, and combine that with what we know about the musical scales of the time? We could reconstruct its sound with unprecedented accuracy. We could finally hear the music of the Lyre of Ur, one of the oldest stringed instruments ever discovered, played for the first time in over 4,000 years. We could hear the powerful blast of a Roman cornu, a brass instrument used to command legions on the battlefield. This is not just an academic exercise. Sound is a direct pathway to empathy. To hear the music of an ancient culture is to connect with its people on a deeply human level. It transforms them from abstract figures in a history book into living, breathing individuals who felt joy, sorrow, and the power of art just as we do today. The possibilities extend far beyond music. What about lost languages? There are entire branches of the human family tree whose voices have been silenced by time. We may have written texts, but we do not know the precise pronunciation, the rhythm, and the melody of how these languages were spoken. By training an AI on related surviving languages and the phonetic rules derived from ancient texts, we could generate an audible reconstruction. We could hear a long-extinct dialect being spoken, allowing us to experience ancient poetry and prose not as words on a page, but as the living art form it once was. This journey into the past is guided by one simple, powerful question. What lost sounds of history do you want to hear? The scope of our digital time machine is limited only by our collective curiosity. Every silent corner of history presents an opportunity for exploration. Every lost sound is a mystery waiting to be solved. We are moving into an era where we no longer have to simply wonder about what the past sounded like. We are developing the ability to go there, to listen, and to bring those sounds back for everyone to experience. The unheard worlds are calling to us. And that brings us to you, our fellow explorers. This entire project, from the first note of Schubert's symphony to the grand vision of reconstructing lost worlds, is driven by curiosity. It is the human desire to know, to understand, and to experience what came before us. This is not just our mission, we want it to be your mission too. Our journey into the past is not a solo expedition, it is a collaborative adventure, and your voice is essential. We have shown you what is possible when we focus our digital time machine on the world of classical music. But where should we point it next? What unseen or unheard story should we tackle together? Is it the thunderous roar of the crowd in the Roman Colosseum during a gladiatorial game? Is it the delicate sound of a forgotten language being spoken for the first time in millennia? Perhaps it is something more personal and specific, like the ambient noise of a particular street corner in 1920s New York, complete with the sounds of Model T cars and distant jazz music. Your questions and your curiosity are the fuel that powers our mission. Let us know in the comments below. What mysteries are you most passionate about solving? We invite you to join our community of curious minds. Please subscribe to Chronicles of the Unseen, and be sure to ring that notification bell. Our full in-depth investigation and the world premiere performance of the completed Schubert Symphony are coming very soon. By subscribing, you become a part of the team, the first to know about our new discoveries and the first to experience the lost sounds we bring back to life. This is more than just a channel, it is a shared journey of discovery into the silent spaces of our collective past. The past is full of silence. It is a vast, quiet library filled with stories that were never finished and songs that were never sung. But that silence is no longer absolute. For the first time in history, we are learning how to read the spaces between the notes. We are building the tools to listen to the echoes of what was lost and to give them a voice once more. The quiet is waiting to be broken, and we are finally learning how to play the notes. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary adventure. The next one is just around the corner.